It's Monday, September 11th, 2017. The market's opened again after a nice weekend off, but not a whole lot happened. We're still kind of reeling from the Equifax, and obviously hurricanes in Florida have been making things very, very uncertain, even though now, with the hurricanes behind us, Category 1 is where it stands right now, so definitely not something that's really doing a significant amount of damage anymore. The assessments are out, and things actually weren't that bad. So on a day with not a lot of news, we look at the Dow Jones, 22,057, that's up 259. So a good day for the Dow. The industrial averages, the Dow 30, doing relatively well, but not to be outdone. The S&P 500 hit an all-time high today of 2488 and 11. That's right. That's up 2668, and that's the biggest one-day gain since the 24th of April. So while we went into the weekend assuming that a lot of these hurricanes and potential insurance problems, and I mean just logistical problems entirely, and there's still some problems, and we're going to cover that. But just all the problems didn't end up being as significant. So we had the bump in insurers on Friday, and today, things stayed relatively the same. We've got some earners. American Airlines up 5.2% on the day. XL Group up 5%. Those are two big companies that got hit. XL Group was up big on Friday. They're an insurer. XL Group is up again because you know what? It turned out that while there's a lot of damage, it's not as bad as people had thought it could potentially be. I guess a lot of the insurance analysts out there are saying that once the storm had hit landfall and then had made a turn west, then a lot of the pressure was off, and they thought that there was going to be still the damage that the hitting landfall was going to be, but the storm was going to peter out a lot quicker, and ultimately what ended up happening. So we've got the S&P up. We've got American Airlines and XL Group gaining ground. What lost ground? It was Equifax again, because losing 143 million identities or personal information, social security numbers, birth dates, credit card numbers, so on and so forth, is bad for business. It's really, really bad for business, especially when you're someone who does a lot of background checking on people. You should be doing some background checking on yourself and making sure you're not exposing 143 million people who trusted you with all their stuff being out there in the ether now. Who knows where it is? So we take a look at Irma. I mean, while Irma did not near the damage that it could have, and God bless to that, it still did some significant damage. So we've got not only the GDP that they figure is going to suffer, accumulation of Harvey and Irma, we're going to have some GDP blowback from this in the United States. That's a foregone conclusion, because this was somewhat of an anomaly event, this hurricane season, where you had two major hurricanes hit landfall, do damage, a lot of damage. So there's going to be a lot of blowback. They say, crops in Florida, could up to 30% of crops could have been affected by this. Again, we've had airlines got destroyed. The airlines coming back, but airport closures still closed. Some of the airports, they don't even know when they're going to be reopened. So Disney World, all that stuff, that's all closed down too, right? Like they're saying, I think Tuesday for some of the reopenings of that kind of stuff. But that state is on, especially the southern tip of that state is on absolute shutdown right now, and they're just trying to get their wheels spinning again, and let's just be happy that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But there's a lot of things that were affected by it, and it definitely brought the market down last week. We've seen that all last week with the insurers being down and just bringing the whole S&P down just entirely. People thought it was going to be terrible. We came out of it not so terrible, but the effects are going to be felt. You can bet on that. So in Canada, the TSX was up 54, so up to 1540. And the big gainer and the one that really pushed it over the top is Tahoe Resources, up 33.74% on the day. They've got a silver mine in Guatemala that's been locked down by the government. I guess there's a bit of a discrepancy as to if they asked the proper okays from the indigenous people there if they were able to go ahead and do the mining. Tahoe Resources has some major gold and silver mines around the world in Peru, Guatemala, Canada. they're big time. I mean, they definitely have some large mines. And this one being shut down since July had really stifled their stock price, and it really stifled, obviously, their output, because all forecasts for your quarterly reports are pretty much out the door when one of your largest mines completely gets shut down. So today that was reversed. Guatemalan, is that right? I would imagine that is. Guatemalan officials said, no, let's go back to work. Time to put the mine back to work. So Tahoe Resources with the big 33.75% bump. But they're around like $8. This company in the second half of 2016 was trading close to what, 18, 19 bucks. So there were other problems before this mine got shut down. So while this gave them a little bit of a bump right now, because that was obviously another thing that was pulling them back, if you're thinking about doing any kind of investing, please speak to a licensed professional financial advisor. Don't just be jumping into stuff because it was up 33% on the day, even though that's a great day. Help the TSX, that's for sure. We like that up here in Canada. Let's see more days like this. Let's get some more of our companies pushing forward and doing well, and getting all the proper Indigenous people to say, hey, you know what, let's greenlight some of that. We need some of that actually here in Canada with some of the projects. We need people to get on the same page. But today was a good day across the board. S&P hit a record high, like I said, in the biggest single day gain since April 24th of this year. So the S&P was doing great. We've got a lot of companies that were taking a beating last week are coming back, and that's what we want to see, because it turns out that I think people overshot things a little bit on the fear, but you know, like that tends to happen, right? They get a little too happy, they get a little too sad. Tomorrow, we are getting the release of the iPhone, the brand new iPhone. Apple will be unveiling it, and I'm sure we're going to get a specific sell date, the date that it's going to come to market. We're going to find that out tomorrow. So we're going to get the big reveal. I'm sure people are really looking forward to that. I am Cody from Wall Street Breakdown. You guys have a nice week. I'll see you here again tomorrow. Make sure you click the subscribe button.